Oh, right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down PFL 2024 championships. Me and my guy, Dogfather. How you doing, Dog? Are you looking forward to this card?
This is a cool card. I'm excited to wake up for it tomorrow morning and just kind of tune in and just enjoy the day. Nothing to do tomorrow, so it'll be nice.
Hell yeah, 16 fights. And knowing PFL pacing, this is going to be a 3-day event now. It'll probably be done on Sunday.
It's going to be all day.
Yeah, but there's some sick fights. I'm looking forward, and we can jump right into it. There's a few fights I have not taped yet. Just did not have the time. Did you tape everything?
I probably taped everything, but like some fights, maybe just taped like one or two and was like, I'm not going to do it.
All right, so when we get to those, we'll go quick, and then if I didn't tape something and you did, I'll defer to you. And we have one such fight to start us off. We have Costello Van Steenis versus João Vitor Dantas. Steenis 15-3-0. He's 32, 6'1" with the 76-inch reach. Dantas 7-1-0. He's 28. He's 6'2". He's 1 inch taller, 4 years younger. Don't have his reach. So I'll briefly say my piece because I did not tape this yet. I know Costello very well from Bellator. He's a solid fighter, good striking. Wrestling is whatever. Not really a big thing with him, but yeah, I would have to tape him more. I know he's very well-rounded. I know that he's fought better competition, but I know absolutely zero about Vitor Dantas. How about you, Dog?
Yeah, he's just like a full-on just Porrada Brazilian. I've seen him dropped in like every fight. It seems like every fight he just decides that he's going to get dropped and like mounts a comeback. But yeah, his level of competition is kind of suspect in Jungle Fight. Seems pretty tough though. Like he gets dropped, but like he recovers well. I mean, the one time he fought somebody who was like kind of at Steenis' level though, he kind of just got ran through, which was Lucas Fernando. And he looked pretty terrible. So yeah, I think he probably gets finished. The question is if it's under 1.5, and then Steenis is just like sometimes he just doesn't go for it pretty much. Like he's like a good fighter, man. He's calculated, but you know, finding a way to play the fight's kind of tough. I mean, maybe unders, but then, you know, you never know how these random Brazilians are going to perform. Like sometimes they come up and they show up and they look a lot better than they do on tape. Because they have like a full training camp, you know, this is like a big thing for him, big moment. So maybe he's live early, but like I said, I haven't seen enough, over an extended fight. I mean, he just kind of goes mad, he's kind of a madman.
Yeah, I might try to sneak some tape on Dantas. Like maybe tonight after all the Thanksgiving stuff is over.
It doesn't take very long.
Yeah, I figure it won't take long. And sometimes these Brazilians pleasantly surprise you. And Van Steenis, he is a guy who's kind of like hit or miss sometimes. That I do know about him. Sometimes he's on point. He looks elite. Sometimes he's like, eh. So at minus 700, I wouldn't mind fading if I can find something with this Dantas guy. But we can move on. Next up, we have Acel Ajuj versus Jose Perez. Ajuj, he's 8-1-0, 25 years old. He's 6 feet tall with a 71.5-inch reach. Perez 9-1-0. He's 29. He's 4 years older, 2 inches shorter. He's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage. I can start us off for this one. I taped this one literally right before we got on the show. And it's a pretty interesting one. I've never been super high on Ajuj. He's a striking guy. Sometimes he's got that bouncy karate style. Other times, not so much. Clean striking, good kicks. He's very fast, seems to have a lot of power. He's dropping a lot of guys. He's not really knocking out a lot of guys at the higher level. I don't even want to call it a high level because his competition's pretty nah. But he is hurting a lot of guys. He's a good striker, and you do see him mixing in some wrestling as well on his own. He's getting some takedowns, a lot of single legs, and his own takedown defense seems okay, but nobody's really pushed the issue against him that much. And Jose Perez, I like him. He's very aggressive. My concern is he's got the chin up in the air. He's super hittable. And I could 100% see Ajuj just rocking him with like a head kick or something really fast. Would not be shocked at all. But overall, Perez seems relatively durable outside of that 1 KO loss to DeAndre, right? Anderson, I believe. Outside of that, his chin seems to be holding up. I'm just worried about how hittable he is, but he's a good striker in his own right. I think he's going to have more output. He's more of a brawler than a clean striker like a Zhuge, but I also like his ground game a lot. He's not always pushing the issue with the takedowns, but when he is, he's got good wrestling. I really like his back take. He's pretty quick with the submissions. So for me, I kind of lean towards the dog here because I just think he has more ways to win. I think he's competitive on the feet if he can just defend himself and not get knocked out. And I think he's got an advantage on the ground. And if SAO decides to go for his own takedowns, he might be sticking his neck out there, and Perez is good at snatching it up. But what are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that Perez is probably the better like MMA fighter, you know. But I do have concerns with the striking defense, and I think the under is interesting.
It's like plus 200, right?
Yeah, with how Perez fights, I mean, his submission game is really good, man. Like if he gets hurt, what I've noticed in fights is like the Jalen Reed fight, like he gets hurt and he goes, oh crap, I forgot, I can definitely wrestle. And like I've seen a douche taken down by like Liam McCracken, even when McCracken was tired. That's the only guy who's had like grappling success, and he got his back. So, I mean, it's definitely like a possible outcome that Perez can submit him, and it's definitely a possible outcome that he could get knocked out. Like I can see a couple ways the fight can finish. But it could be like one of those tilting unders. Like I find it hard for the under not to look value unless a douche is just like the cage pressing him. But I don't see him really having much success doing that because if he engages in grappling, I think Perez got something for him. So yeah, I kind of like Perez, but with the youth and the athleticism that Aduj has shown, and like the some improvements too, I kind of lean him. But overall, I'm thinking that the fight could finish. I just don't know if I'm going to get there. But yeah, it's a really good fight.
Yeah, it's a solid fight, but we can move on. We had a short notice replacement here. I feel like they're constantly just switching out Braga and Pinedo with each other. But here we have Gabriel Braga versus Jeremy Kennedy. Braga 14-2-0, 26 years old, 5'9" with the 72-inch reach. Kennedy 19-4-0. He's 32, so he's going to be 6 years older, 2 inches taller, and he's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. So really short notice replacement. I didn't tape Braga, but I do know Braga very well. I'm sure you do too. Did you get to look at this fight yet, dog?
I mean, I'm familiar with Braga, but I haven't gotten time to sit down and actually look at it. I mean, he's on like 24 hours notice, and he's a minus 200 favorite, and he's been grappled before.
Is he actually?
I mean, yeah,
I didn't see the line.
Pinedo missed today, and then they opened it Pick'em, and people have been betting Braga. He's like minus 200. I mean, yeah, Kennedy's a good grappler, man. And like Braga doesn't have like crazy margins on the feet unless he's knocking you out. So, I mean, I think the line is probably a little wide. I mean, it's not like he's Pitbull or Volkanovski and these guys that have been knocking out. I mean, I don't even like. I think Borgs is a comparable striker to Braga, in my opinion. So. But yeah, I think he's a comparable striker to Braga, so it could be a competitive fight. I'd be interested in Kennedy after I tape it. I'm gonna give it a look because plus 180, 185 on a dude who's fighting somebody on one day's notice. I mean, and he can grapple. I mean, kind of tempting,
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I'd have to go look at Braga. I understand, like, I feel like slight favorite Braga, even on short notice, is okay, just because of how much of a punching bag Kennedy is. But even then, I'd be concerned because of the cardio. I don't know. His cardio is pretty good, but I don't know how he's going to be on such short notice. Wasn't expecting this fight, and he's fighting a guy who's not just going to stand with him on the feet and just have a slow pace striking affair. Kennedy's going to push the pace. Kennedy's going to be in his face. Kennedy's going to try to grapple, and I think he's going to be able to get the takedown. So I got to look at this one also a bit more now that they switched the fight. But I was already leaning Kennedy as a dog against Pinedo, and this is an easier fight for him, in my opinion. And it's a similar line. It was plus 240 against Pinedo. Now it's plus 170. Maybe gets even a little bit better. Nobody really likes Kennedy. It's funny. They liked him when he was fighting Pitbull. Then all of a sudden he was going to come out here and beat Pitbull. and now everybody hates him because he lost, so now he's a bum. Now he's
I
gonna
bet.
lose
I mean,
500 short notice.
I bet put Pitbull with dog money, and I was
Me
like,
too. Me
I
too.
was like, I was like, Pitbull. I get that, like the thought process that Pitbull is washed,
Mm-hmm.
but like he fought Chihiro Suzuki at 155, like on like a day or two's notice, and got knocked out, and people were like, he sucks now.
It's because people don't know Suzuki, so they're like, "Oh, look, he got knocked out by a rando on Risen."
Yeah, so I mean, like I get it, you know, and I think he got dunked on by Tofik Musayev or whatever,
Yeah.
but he's also a 55er. So it's like he's fighting it, but not to rehash that, but yeah, it does seem like a bit of a overcorrection here that this guy's a pick'em fight to Pitbull, and now all of a sudden on a day's notice, they're excited to bet Braga up to -200 when Justin Gonzalez, like 2 fights ago, pretty much almost controlled him against the cage for a whole round.
Yeah, and people forget that Kennedy is a really good wrestler in his own right. But all right, we can move on. Next up, we've got a fight that I know you're on, and I've been back and forth on. We have Slim Trabelsi versus Abraham Babley. Trabelsi 7-0, undefeated, 31 years old, 6'1" at the 74-inch reach. Babley 5-0, he's undefeated as well. He's going to be 28 years old, so he's 3 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, same reach. I'll start us off for this one. So you were the one who told me to go check this fight out. I did. And I was torn. I was ready to bet Babley as a decent dog. I was hoping for it to go back to like plus 130, 140, and it went the other way. And now he's plus 100. And I don't really feel super comfortable betting either because I just don't know what their takedown defenses look like, really. Neither's really been tested. And Trabelsi obviously is the more credentialed wrestler, having been to the Olympics. Even in MMA, it does seem to me like he is the better wrestler. I'm very impressed with him. And even when he ends up on bottom somehow, he scrambles back up really, really well. And I just don't know what Babley's takedown defense is because he's a good offensive wrestler against lower level comp. But I don't know what Trabelsi's takedown defense looks like, so I don't know if Babley can get him down. And then I don't know what Babley's takedown defense looks like, so I don't know if he can stuff the takedowns. Because if he can, I don't like Slim striking whatsoever. I think he's a bad striker. I think he's super dependent on the overhands. And I just don't like it. I think he's hittable. I think the output is low. And then you look at Babley, and the commentary is constantly comparing him to Aspinall. I guess I kind of see it because he's super light on his feet. He's jumping, switching stances. You don't really see that from heavyweights, and it's probably because he's 5'10", so he's not really a heavyweight in my mind. Probably could go lower. He is ripped, but I feel like he could probably make 205. But he's very light. He's fast, good kicks, good hands. I think he's definitely the better striker, and he's the more well-rounded mixed martial artist in this fight. Because I don't know what his takedown defense is, I don't want to like put a unit on him and then watch him just get controlled for 3 rounds. So I'll probably pass unless something big happens with the line. But how about you, dog?
Yeah, I mean, my thing, and I definitely agree that, like, I don't know what his game looks like on bottom, but Trabelsi's control isn't great. So even if he gets him down, we've seen guys who like Louis Sutherland, who just doesn't even know how to stuff a takedown, like he doesn't even know how to sprawl. He still had success just getting up. And so if you give me a guy that's built like Babley, who's just looks like a little, bowling ball, essentially, like I have a feeling that he's got the base, and the body type to kind of be pretty decent at stuffing takedowns, or at least getting back to his feet. He's probably seems like a guy who'd be relatively hard to control, especially with his athleticism. I think that's kind of, what's leaning me to his side at plus money. Like I have a pretty decent sized wager at like plus 140, 130, 120s, and, pretty much ran it all the way down to 110s. So I think an average price of like 130 for a pretty big stake. Just because, like you said, I think he's just a more well-rounded MMA fighter. I like his athleticism and I like the youth on his side. He's the guy he's been training mixed martial arts longer than Trabelsi has. I believe so. And, you give me the guy with more, MMA experience, amateur and pro, good camp. Both guys are at good gyms, but I think Babley's just, the better, more well-rounded MMA fighter at the end of the day. And I think Trabelsi is kind of like he's just a wrestler to me with poor control and needs some work on his jiu-jitsu. Now, maybe it improves as well. But yeah, I think Babley should probably be the favorite slightly. So anything plus money range was good for me.
All right. I like it. We can move on.
The
Next up,
overs, I like the overs too though. Like the overs minus 170, but like this is when you watch it, you're like, how the hell does this fight even finish in under 2.5? Like I have like a really hard time just like figuring out what does the finish look like here. So
yeah, I wouldn't even know. I feel like it would have to be Babley catching him or something.
like a head kick, and it's just like how predictable is that? So like if I could actually get money down on the overs of like a GTD, I'd be all in on it. The issue is just like I can't. There's no limits. I can't bet shit. You know, the GTD at like minus one. The only
50.
concern with the GTD is Slim's cardio, but he seems like a tough guy. So I feel like even if he's getting beaten up, I don't think he's gonna be a quitter. So
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we can move on. I believe we both have bets here. I'm not sure if you do, but I
I
think you
do,
do.
but I don't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you might get off.
no, I might. It just depends on what the line does. I just yeah, we'll talk about it, but
All right, so here we have Mansour Barnew versus Alfie Davis. Mansour 21-6-0. He's 32. He's 6 feet tall with the 77-inch reach. Davis 17-4-1. He's 32 as well. 1 inch shorter, 7-inch reach disadvantage. Start us off, dog.
yeah, I mean, Alfie Davis is just a typical London shoot fighter guy, you know, karate style kickboxer. And you know, I think at the end of the day, like I'm a big Barnaby fan, you know. Davis doesn't really have a ton of margins, kind of fights off the back foot a ton. I think his grappling is relatively unknown. Like he seems to have his black belt. You know, he's been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time. He's been doing mixed martial arts for a long time. He seems like a relatively okay grappler. From what I can see, like there's not a ton to say otherwise that he's like a complete fish, but obviously you're dealing with a guy like Barnaby who's just like an elite level, you know, jiu-jitsu player. But I do think, you know, from his time on Road FC, he has, you know, regressed not a lot. Like I think I wouldn't say a lot, but he's definitely regressed from his Road FC fights where, you know, he looks like an absolute unit. Like he looks huge in comparison now. Like I think he weighed in at like 140, 153.6, which is really odd for a guy it's that big. He's just kind of like long and lanky, but I thought that was a little interesting that, you know, you're that big of a lightweight and you're weighing in at 153. Like maybe he doesn't cut that much weight. Maybe he just walks around super thin. But you know, back in the day, he looked like a beast, you know, massive back and shoulders and just like huge. And I've been fighting MMA for a while, and I think, you know, now his game is a little bit past its time, you know, like playing jiu-jitsu and having poor takedown defense and just kind of using your hardware to sort of beat guys up who are grapplers. Like I feel like, you know, his time has passed a little bit. And you know, I think the market still has this, you know, prestiged opinion of him from his Road FC fights, you know, from 4 or 5 years ago when it seemed like he was in his prime. You know, obviously Davis isn't like the most exciting guy to bet because of his style, but I actually think if, you know, he can keep it on the feet, it's like a relatively competitive fight. It's obviously a big if, but I haven't seen like a ton of, you know, offensive wrestling that leads me to believe that Barnaby is just going to like take him down with relative ease. And if he doesn't take him down with relative ease early, you know, there's a good, you know, possibility that this fight was relatively close on the feet. You know, I can see Barnaby just out hardwaring and like maybe landing some more damage. But when Alfie gets going, you know, he's pretty hard to get a beat on. And, you know, Barnaby is really, really hittable. He doesn't really have much striking besides like getting in the clinch and just throwing big. So as much as I hate wanting to bet Alfie, like I, I bet him at 225, I'm still kind of tossing it up because I don't love the margins and it could look really, really terrible. So I'm still kind of considering, you know, my position, but I do think the line is definitely wide. Like I think Barnaby should be like a minus 150 favorite, but he does have tremendous upside in the fight.
Yeah, I feel pretty similar. I'm not crazy about Davis. I never really was. He's just one of those guys skirting on the outside. Output isn't the best, not much finishing urgency, but he's a good striker. He is hard to find, like you said. I think his takedown defense is solid. And Barnew, like, I don't think his wrestling's that good. He's just really good once he's on the ground. Then he's super dangerous. And yeah, then Davis is probably going to be in trouble. But I think for the most part, Davis should be able to stuff everything. I think he'll get taken down a few times. It'll be interesting to see how he survives. But if he can, I do think that he's a better striker. I think that Barney is going to struggle to find him. I think that the output, it's not like Barney was throwing a ton on the feet either. So I don't think the low output from Davis will be a huge factor. And as long as he can keep it up on the feet enough where he can land his shots, he's going to be cleaner. Just keep going in and out. Avoid the fence, that's for sure. Definitely avoid the fence and the clinch. And I think Davis should be able to win. So I thought the line's way too wide. I agree with you on like minus 150-ish Barney. So I took the shot. Don't love Davis's style, but if he wins a close decision or if he loses a close decision, like he was plus 240, that'll mean that I made the right bet. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he does win.
That's kind of how I feel. Like I feel like at 225, I'm making the right bet.
Yeah.
You know,
and at that point, we can cry about it after and say we had value. We could be one of those guys.
Yeah, whatever. I won't worry about it. I'll move on.
Yeah, I got enough dogs on this card. And speaking of dogs I have on this card, I believe we're both on this one too. Next up, we have Mohsen Mohamed Saifi versus Georges Aid. Mohsen, 6-2-0, 35 years old, 5'5" with a 63-inch reach. Aid, he's 10-4-0, 34. He's 1 year younger, going to be 4 inches taller, and he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage. I'll start us off here. Never liked Mohsen much, really. I never really even thought he can go to a decision. In his last fight, was it his last one that went off all three? Yeah, in his last one, he went all three. And he looked better than I would have thought late in the fight, but he did look like he slowed down a lot. Even in the second round, like he got off the stool and his mouth was wide open. He was huffing and puffing, and he still did solid work in the second, but he really, really was slowing down. He's an explosive striker. Got to give him credit. He's nasty in the pocket, really good hooks. He's explosive. He's fast, but takedown defense seems like he could be taken down. It's okay. And like I said, the cardio is a big question. And now this is a 5-rounder, which he has not done. And based on his tape, I do not think he could do 5 rounds. Now, can he, like, it's probably super likely that we don't make it all 5. Maybe we don't even make it to the 4th because he is really dangerous and Aid's dangerous in his own right. So cardio might even not come into play. But when he's a minus 200 favorite and it's a 5-round fight, I do have to consider the cardio. And then with Aid, I don't think he's gone 5. But his cardio to me seems better, and he's not as he's not this little tank who's complete, like his entire game is just exploding in and out. He's more of a regular fighter. He comes in there, nice combos. I think he's better at range. I think he's a very solid striker in his own right, and he seems like he hits really hard too. And then he has some wrestling upside. It's not like something he does a ton, but he could get takedowns. And I just trust his cardio a bit more. I think if we make it to the 4th and 5th, I honestly, I can't imagine what Mohsen will look like. I'm thinking like hands on his knees, deep breaths. So at plus 160, because it's a 5-round fight, I think Aid is a good bet. Even if it was a 3-rounder and it was the same line, I still think Aid is probably a good bet just because even if Mohsen's cardio holds up, I feel like Aid could beat him. But now that it is a 5-rounder, I had to take that plus 160. How about you, dog?
Yeah, I bet Aid too, just because outside of round 1, I don't really see Mohsen being minus 200 in this fight, or like over 1.5. I don't see him being minus 200 in this fight. And like Aid's looked really good after dropping down to from 170 to 155, which is like kind of the key for me here. Like he's going to have prior he didn't have as much of a size advantage against, Ali Santalati and a couple others guys when he's been grappled and lost some fights. So I think the size advantage is going to prove well. I have some concerns with his striking defense and his chin because he doesn't like move his head a ton. He's kind of a brute, which is kind of a problem here against a guy with like Musin, who's pretty much, I wouldn't say he's a brawler. He's like a Wushu Sanda world champion. You can tell in his game that he has like an elite level, striking game early. But then after that, he kind of just like loses. There's like, he just kind of loses the answers to his questions because his game is just like swing big hooks and calf kick and get into range. And then that's outside. That's pretty much it. Like you see that in the Tahiri fight. Like Tahiri's a fine fighter with poor cardio. And he still was like in round 3, like having like a 60, 40, 55, 45 round, with a dude who's shown really bad cardio and almost got finished in that fight once he, stopped having answers to everything because he could just out physical guys. And he's a pretty physical guy at 55 these days. And I think he's got to be the side. I mean, outside of round one, I think this is like a really, really competitive fight.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and we can move on. You're going to have to lead on this one because I didn't tape it at all. We have Ali Taleb versus Rashid Haas. Taleb, 11-1-0, 27 years old, 5'7" to 69-inch reach. Haas, 15-3-0, 32. He's 5 years older. Same height, 1-inch reach advantage. Like, the only thing I really know about the fight is I know Ali pretty well. He's a very well-rounded fighter, good striker, good power, can slow down a little bit, decent grappling. And I did bet Kakarov against him when he was plus 300, so that was nice. But Haas, I really don't remember. So why don't you tell us what's up with this fight, dog?
Yeah, Haas is like a big, I think he's from Spain. He's like a big, he's like, I don't know if he's Spanish, but he definitely looks like he's like Egyptian or something. I can't tell like his origin, but he's from Spain, so I guess he's from Spain, but he doesn't look like it. He's a grappler. Like he's like a big physical, body lock style, take you down grappler. Pretty good jiu-jitsu, good back take. Relatively hittable though. He doesn't move his head a ton. So I guess that's where, Taleb being minus 270 is fine. He's been a prospect with a little bit of hype. He's a really good athlete, good boxing. Cardio's fine. He can be taken down though. Like, his last fight, he got taken down. I think he went to decision his last, but got taken down in round 3 and just laid on his back. That's my concern or that was which fight was it?
I think it was this one.
The box fight. Yeah. The second to last fight, he got taken down in round 3 and just didn't get up. Because he kind of comes out super aggro and then slows down a little bit. And then he kind of, he's just not as explosive and dangerous, and what makes his game really good. So I mean, Haas could have some potential here if he doesn't get knocked out early, but I think Taleb's probably fine. The under at 2.5 at plus money. If you watch Taleb and Haas fight, they're both pretty aggressive fighters. Pretty tempting. I mean, I think Couch is worth taking a look into, because I kind of felt like after watching the Aliu fight that, after watching Haas get dropped a couple times by big hooks in the pocket, I think if they're on the feet for extended periods, I think Taleb's going to probably find them on the chin. But Taleb's KO is plus 100 and the under 2.5 is plus 110. And, with how we view Taleb's cardio, I think most of that equity is early, and then you get all the other equity if he clubs and subs them, or, Haas takes his back. I actually like the under. I think it should probably be favored. Am I going to get there? I don't know, but I do have a strong lean that, this fight, with how Taleb fights, I mean, it's hard for me not to want to bet an under for him.
Gotcha. All right. So I definitely got to check this one out, but we can move on. We're not going to do this one because there's not even any lines on it. I don't see a point in doing that fight. All right. Next up, we've got Muhammad Al-Akra versus Omar El-Dafrawi. Dafrawi. Al-Akra 7-0 undefeated. He's 25. He's going to be 5'8" with the 76-inch reach. Dafrawi 12-6-0. He's 29. He's 4 years older. Going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off quick here. So this is a rematch with these two. And since that fight, I think Al-Akra's had just 2 fights, but Dafrawi, I think he's had like 5 or 6 since that one. He's been very active. And it's an interesting one. So I started with their first fight, and I was watching that, and Al-Akra beat him by grappling. Early, Dafrawi, he did a pretty good job defending. I thought the takedown defense looked solid. But then you saw Al-Akra would try to hang on to him. He tried to clinch with him. And slowly but surely, Dafrawi got more tired. And then the takedowns for Al-Akra came a lot easier. And then he was able to really control him in that third round. Dafrawi had really no answer. On the feet, Dafrawi, I think, is a little bit better. I like his striking a lot. I think he's explosive. I think he hits hard. I like that he's clean, straight down the pipe. But I don't think he's that much better than Al-Akra on the feet. He has more of a power threat. But I actually think Al-Akra is a pretty solid striker, too. I went into this one hoping that I would like Dafrawi. He's plus 300. I cashed on him last time out against Jara Al-Salawi. That was a nice hit. But I don't know if this is the spot because, again, this is a 5-rounder now. Al-Akra's cardio seems to be a lot better. And in their first matchup, cardio is kind of what did Dafrawi in. I mean, he was losing even before he tanked the cardio, but now in a 5-rounder, I can't trust it. So I'm probably just going to pass. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping if I get a live bet here, I'm just gonna freaking load up. Start loading. Like if we get live lines, this is the one fight I'm really targeting because, you know, I was with you. I think we're both on Defar. Actually bet Defari a couple times in his UAE Warriors fights, kind of on this lead up in the PFL. I mean, his last two, just because like he's a pretty athletic striker. He's dangerous early. I think he's the much better striker than Al-Akra, just because he uses knees, elbows, kicks. He's got a lot more weapons on the feet. Al-Akra just kind of throws a jab, 1-2, and maybe some round kicks. But I think DeFerrari's definitely got a more well-rounded MMA game in terms of the striking. But as you said, as soon as Al-Akra starts, grinding on him, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, but that's not his game. He's just a grinder at the end of the day. He's kind of stiff on the feet, but I mean, the guy is good, man. He's huge for the weight class, really strong, good grappling, has a lot of different takedowns. He's training with the Khabib guys, like the Abdul Manap school, whatever. He's been there for a while. He's like an AKA guy too. High level training partners. I think the guy is really good, man. I wish his style was a little bit more exciting, but after watching the first fight, it's hard to give DeFroy much of a path outside of like a KO early, or like he's made massive cardio improvements. And I guess in his one fight in PFL Mania, he showed a little bit better cardio, but with zero resistance. So it's like I don't effing know. So massive pass. Unders, no idea because Al-Akra's a grinder and DeFerrari's really tough. So no, I mean probably goes over, probably Al-Akra decision, but maybe late, maybe if we get some late KOs, maybe a 4-5 KO, maybe that's something.
Did they even give those though for these cards?
I think they actually gave some lines for this fight. I mean, let's actually, okay, hold on, let's cook.
Because FanDuel doesn't let me get props for. They actually don't offer me PFL at all in New York. FanDuel, DraftKings does, and I get some props, but I don't think this fight's one of them.
Oh, hold up, let me cook.
Cook.
I think I got props for this, but I'm. All right, hold up. I'll see if Fight Odds even put them up because they suck half the time. Oh, yeah. Defwari, Al-Akra.
Yeah, no props on DK.
Okay, his KO is plus 300.
Yeah, on Bet Online.
That's not bad. I wonder if they'll post late KO props, like a 4-5 KO prop. It would be you know what I mean? He just, after watching the first fight, I mean, if he just starts pounding on him late, it could be like an attritional type of KO where they just wave it off. I mean, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't hate it either.
I don't dislike that at all.
We can move on. Another short notice replacement. I don't know if you know Bella Goot better than I do, but we got Moran Bella Goot versus Abdul Al Qatani. Bella Goot, he's 5'1" 5'9", 68.5-inch reach. Al Qatani 9'2" He's going to be same height, and he's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. So yeah, like I said, I don't remember Bella Goot. I know he was in the season of PFL Mina, but I don't remember his game much. Al Qatani, I know him, very well-rounded guy, pretty good everywhere, great striker, solid grappling. But do you know this Bella Goot guy better, dog?
Yeah, he's like a Moroccan kickboxer.
Okay.
So the biggest concern would be Qatani's offensive grappling, but he's definitely the better striker in the fight, to be honest.
Qatani?
No, Bella Goo's the better striker.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good kickboxer, dude. And he's pretty dangerous. So, I mean, the issue is short notice. He's slowed down.
5 rounds.
5 rounds, slowed down in the past. Got grappled up by Rada, but Rada's just Rada. He just a zombie. Like, I'm pretty sure that's his nickname.
Yeah, Egyptian zombie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his nickname. So he literally is a zombie, and Qatani doesn't really kind of push that type of pace. But obviously the outside factors kind of lead me to believe the line is fine. Like, I don't maybe
minus 240 kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's like it's probably wide, but with all the other factors surrounding the fight, I'm like, man, he could Quatani could probably wrestle and get on top. I mean, this dude's literally a white belt, like complete white belt. So,
Gotcha. So I definitely got to tape this one because if all that's true and the 5-rounder thing, short notice, I'd be willing to pay the chalk on Quatani possibly.
yeah, if he offensively wrestles, but
yeah, I feel like he will though. He's a pretty smart fighter. I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, moving on because we've got 24 minutes before I got to get out of here. We got
plenty of time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights, 6 fights, but I think we should be good.
Fights,
all right.
6 fights.
Next up, we have Denise Goltsov versus Oleg Popov. Goltsov, 35, 8-0, 34 years old, 6'5" at the 78-inch reach. Popov, 19, 1-0, 32. He's 2 years younger, going to be 4 inches shorter. We don't have his reach. Start us off, dog.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna retape this one because I taped it like probably 10 days ago, and I've had a lot of different opinions. I have people that are like, Popov's the side, Popov, and then I have folks like you who are kind of leaning Goltsov. But off the rip, I went into it pre-tape being like Goltsov might, pick him to this guy. What the hell? And then I watch some of the fights and I watch him get taken down and I watch him lay on bottom and then I watch him hit a sweep and I'm like, oh, he could do that here. And then I watch him get taken down again. And then I watch him not get up. So it's like, I don't really know how it's going to play out. Like I assume, I don't even need to assume. I know people are betting Popov because they assume he's just going to grind on him and take him down, which is fair, obviously a fair assessment. We've seen Goltsov get taken down, lay on bottom, not really have much urgency to get up. Pretty good sweeps though. But the issue is like once he gets tired, it seems like from the little bit I do have, once he does get tired, he doesn't have a sense of urgency to get up. The Leha fight's just weird. It's like he gets taken down in round 3, lays on bottom for 2 minutes. There's 30 seconds left, and he just decides, okay, now's the time to get up, which was kind of annoying because I would have loved to see him, try to get up earlier because I could make it more of a case for him. So I'm going to retape, but I'm leaning at just being like a dog or pass fight, to be honest. Like I have some concerns with both guys, especially over 5. Like I get that both of them have suspect cardio. Like Goltsov's kind of quit in his ACA fight when it went to 4 rounds because he got exhausted. And I feel like Popov's probably more live, in my opinion, from what I've seen, to at least grind it out. So I lean Popov, but I'm going to retape. Maybe there's value on the favorite. Maybe I just pass. Maybe I bet the overs because it could just be like a grindy, Popov fight, and the overs are tempting. I don't really rate Popov as a finisher. I mean, maybe he could get him in crucifix and just kind of make him flake, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like if you like Popov, I feel like fight goes at plus money is a pretty good bet. Over 4.5 at plus money is a pretty good bet. Because the only way I see him finishing Goltsov is if Goltsov really gasses, and that's possible. It's possible. So like I'm not running to the window to bet it, but honestly, I taped it. I went into it. I knew a lot of people are on Popov. The line moved towards Popov. And I expected to like him too. And then I taped it and I was like, honestly, it's Goltsov or pass for me. Because can Goltsov be taken down? Yes. But I think his takedown defense is better than people are kind of giving it credit for, because Linton Vassell takes down pretty much everybody. The dude is just a mixture of being a good wrestler, and also I think he's insanely like strong and like athletic. So I think that's why he's getting a lot of these takedowns against people who I think are better wrestlers than him. So I don't put a ton of stock into that. And then you look at the Ante D'Elia fight, because that's like another example. That's one you brought up to me, and I was looking at it. And the only real takedown D'Elia got was in the 3rd round. He got a takedown there, and yeah, Goltsov actually did get stuck on his back. But outside of that, anytime Goltsov ended on the ground, it was because of him. Like in the 1st round, I think he got reversed. And then in the 2nd round, he went for like a bad trip. He tried to throw him over himself, and D'Elia just ended up on top. So fight IQ is certainly a question. Some of the decision-making, not great. But I don't think his takedown defense is all that bad. I expect Popov to get takedowns, but I don't expect it to be easy. And I guess the reason I'm kind of leaning Goltsov or pass is I think on the feet there's a huge gap. I don't like Popov striking much at all. He has that one combo where he'll go like straight right and then come out, like around with the left hand, and it works for him. He does land it. But overall, I think he's pretty limited on the feet. I think the output is pretty poor. I don't think he hits that hard. And I like Goltsov striking a lot. I like the front kicks to the body. I like the kicking game in general. Much longer guy. He's decent at using that range. More powerful, in my opinion. I think most of the finishing upside on the feet lies with Goltsov. I think if Popov gets a finish, it's ground and pound on a tired Goltsov. I'm not dying to play Goltsov at plus 105 or plus 100, whatever it is now, because, yeah, I could see him being out grappled. And the more I think about it, like I originally leaned cardio edge Goltsov, but I kind of feel like Popov might have the better cardio because he's held up pretty well in 3-rounders where there was a lot of grappling and some adversity. So, yeah, back and forth for me. I lean Goltsov here just because of the striking, but at this point with the line the way it is, I doubt I have a play on it. And we can move on. Next up, we got my guy. We got Brent Primus versus Gadzi Rabadanov. Primus 15-3-0. He's 39, 5'10" with the 73-inch reach. Rabadanov 23, 4-2. He's 31. He's 8 years younger, 2 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off here. I played Primus. I'm not supremely confident, but at plus 400, I just felt like it was too wide of a line. Rabadanov has gone 5 rounds once before back in the day against Mehdi Dudayev, I'm pretty sure. He lost that one, but Dudayev's a beast, so I can't put too much, can't hate on him too much for that. Rabadanov's really good. He's a really good wrestler. He's a solid striker. Cardio seems solid for the most part. I do think he can slow down. But I just feel like making him minus 500 or 600, whatever it is, against Primus, I think it's a bit much. Primus has fought the better competition. Primus an elite grappler in his own right. The only place where Rabadanov, I think, has a strong advantage is on the feet. I'm not a fan of Primus's striking. He's kind of just like awkward, very wide with the shots, and he is super hittable and he can be chinned. So I can understand Rabadanov like KO plays. I could understand. I can't really understand parlaying him at minus 400 or 500. I don't think that makes sense, but I can understand like KO props because Primus can be hurt. But ultimately, I took the plus 400 on Primus for a half unit shot, just because I could see him outworking Rabadanov on the ground. I could see him getting his own takedowns. And I think in terms of pure jiu-jitsu, he's the better guy as well. So for me, Primus or pass at this line. Obviously, I'll pick Rabadanov to win. Younger guy, better striker, strong wrestler in his own right. But yeah, that's where I'm at. How about you, Doug?
Yeah, I played Gadzi KO. It's like plus 340. I mean, Primus, like you said, he's been literally like rocked in like so many fights. He just like doesn't die, which is probably a good, underdog to back. He's tough. You said all you need to say about him. I mean, everybody who's watched Brent Primus, they know what he's about. But I just think the speed, the athleticism, the trajectory. I like Gadzi, man. He's a good fighter. And yeah, his striking's pretty solid. Like I know he hasn't finished a lot of dudes in, a while, and finishing Renpro is not like, the best look, but I think I think he at some point I think he's just gonna cash him with something. Hopefully, Primus is getting up there too, so it's all gonna come at one point, and I think this is a good fight to to just play as KO at this point. Like I kind of like the under too, but I just don't know. Like I just don't know if Primus is going to finish him, but he could. I mean, he's pretty nasty on top. Like if he gets him down, Primus is a bad dude. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes under. Like maybe Primus, sub is live. So I could see the fight finishing. Maybe Primus sub, possibly. So I don't know, but I'm leaning Gadzi. Not on the money line side, probably Primus, but I like Gadzi's KO prop. I like the under. I don't know if I'm going to get to both. I might, but Gadzi KO plus 340 is pretty good for me. Took a little poke at it, just like a quarter unit, just because I think it had some value.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. If I had to play something outside of Primus, that's what I would have played, I think.
Yeah.
All right, this fight's really, really interesting. We have Magomed Umalatov versus Shamil Musayev. Umalatov 17-0, undefeated, 32 years old, 6'1" at the 75-inch reach. Musayev 19-0-1, 30 years old. He's 2 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he is at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Start us off, dog.
Musayev or homeless. I mean, I bet the early line, like I wish I could have gotten more down at like minus 170 after, because I was just like, it's probably going to move, you know, but I didn't want to go too crazy because I couldn't cash out of everything. But I wish I got a little bit more down, just because the line moves so much. But I mean, minus 300, you know, trending towards, I mean, definitely feels a little wide. Doesn't mean I'm going to bet Umlatov because I already bet Musayev at like minus 180 range. But I think, I don't know, it's an awesome fight. Like, I'm surprised the line, people are so like willing to just, you know, ride in on Musayev. You know, Umlatov, the only issue though is like, Umatov's looked pretty awful his last couple fights, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't say awful, but he's not looked very good, to be honest. So I think it just ends up coming down to being like a trajectory thing. You know, Musayev, after his, you know, no contest or whatever, the draw in KSW, he took some time off and he's looked like an absolute beast, you know. And at that time, you know, he's 27, I believe, 26, 27. You know, seems like he's improved a lot, you know, over that period of time. Like, he just seems more patient. He fights smarter, a little bit more calculated. Takedown defense is pretty elite. And I do have concerns. The only concern I have with Musayev is, you know, Umatov has a really dangerous submission game. So if he does get him down, I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe he gives up his back and gets caught in something, or, you know, I could see, you know, Umutov having like the opportunity to maybe get something in a transition because he is a pretty dangerous, you know, submission grappler. But it's kind of hard to believe. And then, you know, Umutov possibly like KOing him isn't out of the question. Like, he's got a huge right hand. And Musayev's hands are weird. Like, he keeps them low. You know, I think he's also a Wushu Sanda guy as well. And you can tell in his game, right? You know, he's got like he almost fights. This will sound weird, but he fights like Norma Dumont. Like, her hand, you know what I mean? Like, her hands are like really low right here, and they throw a ton of hooks from here, and, you know, walk backwards and stand straight up.
I don't know if I ever expected Norma Dumont to be compared to Shamil Musayev.
Well, the striking, because they both have like the Sanda backgrounds. Like, you can just tell, like, Mohsin Muhammad Saifi, you know, also a Sanda guy. You can kind of just tell their strikings. They have like a little bit of, they have like the bounce, you know, they move side to side. They throw big hooks. And I don't know, man. I just think Musayev is the real deal. And I bet on him. I just think he's, you know, got the trajectory right now. I think he's just that guy. The issue is, like, I don't know, you know, how the fight finishes. Both these guys are undefeated. Like, you know, I've seen, you know, Musayev get mounted rather easily, which is my concern for him. Once he got flat down in KSW, but, you know, I'm just going with it's honestly just like an aura bet at this point. Like, he's just kind of that guy right now. I think he's the real deal. And so is Umutov, but I just think the trajectory, you know, recently is a little bit different here.
Yeah, it's a tough fight for me. I was low on Musayev at first, and then clearly he proved me wrong. I mean, elite takedown defense, like really good takedown defense, really good striking, really powerful, fast, dynamic. But I think the big difference between this fight and the Ramazanov fights is that, yeah, Ramazanov's also a beast, but he's like a wrestler bust kind of guy. His striking just isn't good. He never has. He's hittable. And that's the only reason I bet him against Musayev is I thought the wrestling would work, and it didn't. So he didn't really have anything else for Musayev. But Umilatov can strike. The dude's a nice striker, too. Like, I wouldn't say he's wrestler bust by any means. And he can wrestle. And I usually like guys like that more because there's two threats, and you can mix it up. It's not like in the Ramazanov fight where Musayev knew, if I can keep this on the feet, I'm going to cook this guy. Yeah, he's probably still a better striker, but Umilatov, I think, will be very much so competitive. I think he could have his own moments on the feet, land some nice shots. And I think he will be able to mix in the grappling because he has more of a threat with the hands and with on the feet standing. So I'll pick Musayev to win. It's dog or pass for me on a betting perspective. If this gets outrageous and Umilatov hits like plus 300, my hand will be forced because he's a really good fighter to be making plus 300. It's not like he's undefeated because he's fought complete cans. He's fought some solid guys. So, yeah, it's dog or pass. But I did play the over. I played the over 2.5 minus 170 because I like it. I don't really see a finish happening. I think we go all five. I think it's going to be a really good, competitive, exciting fight. But both to me seem pretty durable. If a sub happens, like you said, probably Umilatov, but so far Musayev has looked really good on the ground defensively. So I don't really think it happens at a high clip. And yeah, if Musayev doesn't get like an early knockout, it's not like his power completely goes away, but I do think he's less dangerous. So I think the over 2.5 is a good spot. It's chalky, it's a little scary, but I think it's a solid way to play it. We can move along. Next up, we've got Impa Kasanganay versus Dovlet Yagshimuradov. Impa, 18-4-0. He's 30. He's 5'11" with the 75-inch reach. Yagshi, 24-7-1, 35 years old. He's 5 years older. Same height. He's at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off for this one. So I never liked Impa at light heavyweight. Felt like he's way too small, but he's made it work. And here in Yagshimuradov, he's getting a guy who's relatively his size, but I went into this fight, into the tape, thinking, okay, this is going to be Impa more than likely. Never been super high on Yakshi's game. And I taped it, and I hit you up right away, dog. I was like, honestly, like at this line, because I'm watching Impa, and I remember him being relatively durable, outside of Buckley kicking him in the head with the crazy spinning thing. He's been durable. But then in both of his last two fights, right? Like the Silveira fight, you should not be having Silveira hurt you like that. In the pocket, too. I mean, Silveira was landing way too much. I believe it was that first round, and it just did not look good. He got hurt. And then Neto also hurt him. Getting hurt by Neto is fine. That's like his game. He's extremely powerful. He hits like a train. But just seeing him hurt 2 times in a row, I didn't think in either performance he stood out all that much. And Yagshimuradov hits really hard. Like, I know he's hit or miss with the knockouts, but the dude does hit hard. He is hurting people. And I don't really see where Impa really stands out from him outside of output. For me, a big issue with Yagshimuradov is his output. I don't think he throws enough. He's often looking to counter with the big shots, and Impa will lead the exchanges. Impa will throw more. He does target the body really nice with the hands. I like Impa's striking game a lot. I just don't think it's that much better than Yagshimuradov. I think if anything, Yagshimuradov is actually a little bit cleaner. When he's throwing the hands, I really like it. He's fast. The kicks are fast. I don't like spinning stuff in general, but he seems to make it work for him. So I think it's a competitive fight on the feet, and I think that both guys hit hard, but I kind of trust Yagshimuradov's chin a little bit more than I do Impa's after what I've seen recently. And then with the grappling, it's not like Impa will really be able to easily wrestle here if he doesn't like what's happening on the feet, because Yagshimuradov is a good grappler and a good defensive grappler. I think Yagshimuradov is more likely to get his own takedowns. Impa does have strong takedown defense, but he can be taken down. And I just don't think that's going to be an open path for him getting takedowns. I just don't really see it. So I think we're probably going to be on the feet for the most part. Impa's going to do more. Yagshimuradov is going to land the bigger shots. And if maybe he'll mix in a takedown here and there. But and then over 25 minutes, that's another thing. Like with the cardio, Impa's got good cardio. He's gone 25 before. I believe Yagshimuradov's done it like once, ACA, I think. But I tend to think Impa probably has a little bit better cardio, so I'll give him that. I think Impa's the rightful favorite, but minus 180, I just don't like it enough. I could see Yagshimuradov catching him or winning moments with big shots, and I could see him winning a decision too. So for now, I'm going to pass. If the line blows out one way or another, I'll take another look. How about you?
Yeah, I take Impa at minus 130, and I just couldn't do it, actually. I kind of felt the same way as you. It's like I feel like this more often than not is just like a competitive fight where Impa probably pulls away late on cardio and output. But outside of that, I don't really give him like too many advantages. Maybe the get up game, his get up game is good. I mean, he's
I
fine.
don't. I don't at all.
He's fine. I mean, but yeah, I mean, I just like I said, I think it just comes out to being a competitive fight. I mean, Impa is just a little bit too hittable for me to play his chalk line against a guy who has, elite. He just has he's a neutralizer, like Dovleet just has like neutralize. He's just a neutralizer. Like, he skirts around the outside. For his weight class, he moves very well. He punishes you if you get into range. And it's not my favorite style to bet on. I obviously like watching it because it takes a lot of skill to do that. And his takedown defense is solid. I think the line is probably a little bit wide, but I honestly felt like, Impa minus 130 was fine. So it's dog or pass for me. And I'm leaning overs, actually. I think Impa's chin is solid. I don't think it's incredible. I think it's just more so him being hittable. He doesn't really move his head a ton. I mean, I know like Neto was rocking him, but like, Neto was just eating him up with jabs, like just, constantly just popping his jab. And there's just, I had concerns with him. It's like, you got to have better, just simple jab defense is something that you should be able to, be aware of, and just, regular range management. So yeah, I think Yakshi's got to be the side. I pray that there's like tons of Yakshi steam, and maybe I can like take a poke on Yakshi and maybe like a crazy wide decision line.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd love like the decision line's like plus 450, 500 in some spots. Man, I'd love like a plus 650, 700 Yakshi decision to take a poke on and just watch the fight and not really feel too bad about it. But at the current prices, I feel like everything's a bit of a force. So
yeah, I'm with you there. We can move on. For the next two, we got to speed run these. I got to get out of here. So next up, we got Dakota Dacheva versus Tyler Santos. Dacheva 13-0, undefeated, 26 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Santos 22, 3-0. She's 31. She's 5 years older. She's going to be the same. No, she's 2 inches shorter and a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I'll start us off real quick. So Dacheva, she's sick on the feet. I was just watching the Bishop fight back. That knee was crazy. You could tell Bishop did not think something like that was going to happen. She did not take it well. Dacheva's a 6 striker. She's really fast. She has a lot of power. She's long rangey. She's big for the division. But I think her ground game is still incredibly untested. She got taken down by Jenna Bishop pretty easily. She did get back up, which is good. But does Bishop have the world's best control? Not really. And on the feet, Bishop has nothing to offer whatsoever. And then with Santos, is Santos slower these days? Yeah, she probably on the decline, maybe a little bit, but she's 31 only. And she has fought the much better competition. She's much more tested. She's gone 5 rounds before. She's gone a hard 5 rounds before. Dacheva doesn't even really go 3, let alone 5. And I just have a hard time seeing how you could be comfortable with Dacheva at such a chalky price when Santos is by far the best fighter she's ever fought. Santos is by far the best grappler she's ever fought. I think Santos's wrestling is much better than someone like Jenna Bishop. I think Santos's MMA jiu-jitsu is better than someone like Jenna Bishop. And I think her stand-up is much better than Jenna Bishop. So on the feet, Dacheva much better, much faster. Santos shouldn't stay there long, but I think she could remain at least relatively competitive enough to set up takedowns. And then I do think she's going to get takedowns. I do think at some point she might take the back. So I did play Santos plus 290 for 1 unit, and the sub prop on DraftKings was just insane. How is Santos sub plus 2,000? That doesn't make any sense at all. Dacheva got taken down easily against the first solid grappler she fought and then finished the fight, so we didn't really get to see more of it. And Santos is a really good grappler, and you're giving me plus 2,000, and I'm pretty certain at some point she takes the back. I had to play that for a quarter unit to win 5 as well because I couldn't pass up on that. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, you broke the fight down. I'm not fading Dakota because I just think I don't know. I just, you have fighters that you're just like, you watch their tape and, you're a fan. And I'm just like, all right, this girl is sick. You know what I mean? Like, I understand all your points, but I'm just not going to fade her. So
yeah, I have people like that too.
Yeah, that's just how it is. I just think she's special. Like I was like, ooh, the KO prop plus, plus money on the KO prop. And it's like, yeah, sure. But I was, it's still plus 120 for the KO Tyler Santos. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna watch the fight. I'm really actually hoping. I'm hoping that Santos has some grappling success early,
so you can live in.
so I can live in it. Like, I mean, maybe Dakota. It's like maybe she just gets rinsed early.
She might, yeah. That's a good call.
I'm hoping. Like I'm leaning Dakota late KO props. Like on FanDuel, I got like it. FanDuel was like 345 KO is like plus 500.
That's solid.
Now that I might like, like I said, I lean the KOs, but I am worried that she gets rinsed. And like honestly, I won't feel bad if I take plus 500 versus the plus like this KO straight up, and I just fade the early KOs because Santos slows down. I might be okay. That's kind of how I'm feeling about playing the fight for me because I do want to get in on some of the, just I do want to get in on fading Santos's cardio and finding a way to play Dakota. So leaning like KO 345, it's plus 500. I might take a poke at that, but really leaning live bets. I'm hoping she gets rinsed in round one, and I'm hoping she gets rinsed in round one, and I get like evens or like plus money on her early in the fight.
I think you would. That's a good call because you remember in the Bishop fight after Bishop got the takedown, immediately it was almost pick 'em on the live.
Yeah, but then she killed her, so it's like
exactly. So you might get that price again if Tyler takes the back. Or even gets a takedown, you might get the Cheva pick 'em or close.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, that's a pretty good call. If that happens, I would probably arb myself a little bit too.
Oh, dude, I mean, I'm tempted to bet Santos just because I think that she will have grappling. I'm fairly confident she will have grappling success early.
Yeah. Did you see when Bishop took her down and then it took down Decheva, and then they showed Santos on the cam, and Santos was dying laughing at the double leg?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was probably thinking to herself, like, all right, I'm
this
good.
This is gonna be easy, boy.
Yeah. All right, let's do the main event quick, and then I got to get out of here. Brendan Loughnane versus Timur Khizriev. Loughnane, 35-0, 34 years old, 5'9", 71-inch reach. Khizriev, 17-0, undefeated. He's 29, 5 years younger, 1 inch shorter, 2-inch reach disadvantage. Start us off, dog.
Okay. I'll make it quick. Loughnane is really good. So is Khizriev, but Khizriev's style and how he fights, because he's really bouncy, he moves a lot. He kind of expends a lot of energy, and a lot of his round threes have been poor. The Braga fight, round 3, not good. What other fight? Even the Johns fight in round 3, relatively competitive. Loughnane has a lot of experience. He's been around the game. He's got a good calf kick, a patient game. Over 5, if Kiz isn't getting a ton of takedowns, his calf might get lit up. Now, he was checking calf kicks well early in the Braga fight, but as it extended and he got tired and he wasn't as sharp, he started getting calf kicked. Braga started having more success. In a 5-round fight, you kind of have to bet Loughnane. I know I don't want to do it, but it's like plus 290 at some spots.
Plus 255 is the biggest. 260 on DraftKings.
I saw a plus 190 earlier. Now, also maybe a live bet could be good.
I see that. It was this morning.
Yeah, it popped up. I saw it. I seen it. But maybe this one could be a good live bet fight too, because I do expect Kiz to kind of like pull out to a big lead early. But I have seen him slow down. His round 3s aren't the best. He had a 5-rounder in ACA, where he, it was against Bieber Timonov, who's also good, but he's, younger, also wasn't as experienced at the time. Competitive, young guy fight. But in round 4 and round 5, he's definitely slows down. He's definitely a lot sloppier. So, I mean, I like Brendan, man. I mean, I don't, it's one of those other ones where it's like, I don't want to bet it, but I have to, It's like, I didn't want to bet Braga at 440, but you just kind of have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the end of the day, I kind of have to take. It's small, like it's like a half unit poke on.
Loughnane decision is plus 700 on DK. That's kind of nice.
I can't bet much of anything on DK, but I'll check FanDuel. Yeah, but yeah. Loughnane decision would be nice.
Yeah, I'll probably play that prop too. I played his money line. I agree with everything you said. Khizriev's the real deal. He's a really good fighter. But to make him minus 305 against Loughnane, when Loughtnane's done this before, been there in the finals, and he's really good. I just think Khizriev's really well rounded, sure, but in the striking, I think Loughnane is better, faster, more straight down the pipe with the strikes. Good leg kicks. I think the leg kicks will be super important here. Slow down Khizriev, take away the explosiveness. And Loughtnane's a good counter grappler. He's got good takedown defense and he's got solid get-ups too. I'm sure Khizriev will get him down a few times, but I don't think Khizriev has elite control. So I think Loughnane will be able to scramble back up and just keep doing that. Khizriev will slow down. I'm pretty confident in that. I trust Loughnane over 5 a lot more. I like his striking more. I think he has more power standing. And for Khizriev to cover this number, he's either got to put him away quick, which I don't see, or he's got to just completely dominate him in the grappling for 25 minutes, which I also struggle to see. So plus 255 for me was it was a no-brainer. If he loses, he loses. I understand Khizriev as a rightful favorite, but this line to me doesn't make much sense. And that's
I played minus 250, minus 300 of Brent Johns
on Khizriev.
Yeah,
like that made more sense.
I had no problems at playing minus 250, minus 300. There are some early lines, but I was able to get, a good bit down on the early line at minus 300. But now it's like Brett Johns is a 135er.
And it doesn't have much power at all.
And can be taken down.
Yep.
So it was like that makes sense, right? Like I was okay with that. Now all of a sudden, let's relax. It's only been 8 months, 9 months since that fight. Now all of a sudden he's the same line to Loughnane. Like, give us a break,
Yeah. But all right, guys, that is PFL 2024 championships. We just broke down 16 fights in just over an hour. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Got just about 80 live viewers in the chat now. No UFC this week, but I'll be putting out my stuff as usual next week on Tuesday. Dog, you got anything to promote?
No. How many fights is that per minute? 3.75. Well, let's just say 4 minutes for every single fight.
Hell yeah. There we go.
That's pretty good.
I'd say so. We were going pretty quick. Usually we just talk a lot more shit, so it takes up like an extra 40 minutes of ranting. But today, unfortunately, couldn't do it.
Our 5 Dana White Contender Series fight takes 45 minutes. Meanwhile,
one time we did like an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this is like 16.
I mean, we also ended up just hitting a bunch of dogs on this one, so a little bit easier.
I haven't hit a ton. I mean, hopefully, I'm gonna have to consider Alfie, but
join the dogs.
I have Eid Babley, Loughnane.
3 dogs.
4. Jesus.
But all right, guys, thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you, Dog, for pulling up. Peace out and have a good one.